On 12th August 1765, the Mughal emperor appointed the East India Company as the Diwan of Bengal. The company became the chief financial administrator of the territory under its control, but it still saw itself primarily as a trader. It wanted a large revenue income but was unwilling to set up any regular system of assessment and collection. Soon it was clear that the Bengal economy was facing a deep crisis. Artisans were deserting villages since they were being forced to sell their goods to the company at low prices. Agricultural cultivation showed sign of collapse. Then, in 1770, a terrible famine killed 10 million people in Bengal. About one third of the population was wiped out. Most company officials began to feel that investment in the land had to be encouraged and agriculture had to be improved. The company finally introduced the permanent settlement in 1793. By the terms of the settlement, the Rajas and Talukdars were recognized as zamindars. They were asked to collect rent from the peasants and pay revenue to the company. The amount to be paid was fixed permanently. It was felt that this would ensure a regular flow of revenue into the company's coffer and at the same time encourage the zamindars to invest in improving the land. The company officials soon discovered that the zamindars were not investing in the improvement of land. The revenue that had been fixed was so high that the zamindars found itself difficult to pay. Anyone who failed to pay the revenue lost his zamindari. Numerous zamindaris were sold off in auctions organized by the company. On the other hand, the cultivator found the system extremely oppressive. The rent he had paid to the zamindar was high and his right to the land was insecure. To pay the rent, he had to often take a loan from the moneylenders, and when he failed to pay the rent, he was evicted from the land he had cultivated for generations. In the northwestern provinces, Ganga Valley, parts of the central India and Punjab, a modified version of the zamindari settlement was introduced, known as the Mahalwari system. An Englishman called Holt Mackenzie devised this new system, which came into effect in 1822. The estimated revenue of each plot within a village was added up to calculate the revenue that each village had to pay. This demand was to be revised periodically, not permanently fixed. The charge of collecting the revenue and paying to the company was given to the village headman rather than the zamindar. In the south, there were no traditional zamindars. Many Madras officials, led by Reed and Munro, recommended that the settlement should be made directly with the actual cultivators who had tilled the land for generations. Their field had to be carefully and separately surveyed before the revenue assessment was made. This system was known as Ryotwari Settlement. The settlement under the Ryotwari Settlement was not made permanent. It was revised periodically after 20 to 30 years. Through those changes, the British created a new form of private property on land. All over the country, the land was now made sellable, mortgageable, and alienable. This was done primarily to protect the government's revenue. Revenue was fixed very high. Peasants were unable to pay. Riot fled the countrysides, and villages became deserted in many regions. Optimistic officials had imagined that the new system would transform the peasants into rich enterprising farmers. But this did not happen.